Hello everyone, this is Shawn Saint, writer on Shawn Saint Rants and shawnsaint.blogspot.com. This is a video response to Mitch Mitchell, who did a video earlier critiquing and commenting on something I had written on my examination of the Japanese anime Sword Art Online. First, forgive me for my appearance and my lack of professionalism in speaking. It's not something I'm great at, but bear with me as I try to counter and reply to some of the comments Mitch made. Excuse me. Okay, point one. He entitled his video, "Are We Afraid of Equality or Diversity?" Or something similar. And I believe as a whole people are, but I don't see myself as being one of those individuals. When I made the comment about how it seems mainstream movies have a third wave feminist or SJW, social justice warrior, political agenda, I'm basically speaking from the viewpoint that seems to be the mainstream on Twitter right now. Mitch was probably really actually correct in how it started, and it wouldn't surprise me. It's sad that something like that would happen. I do agree that there are way too many white men in power, or, that's not my issue. To give an example, he brought up Wonder Woman and these new Star Wars movies. Wonder Woman is an example of it being done right. And I must admit, for the record, originally I did not agree with Gal Gadot's casting of the character, but she turned out to be absolutely amazing in the role. But Wonder Woman is an established character. She does have three-dimensional aspects and depth. She has a backstory explaining her skills and her abilities, whereas Rey in the new Star Wars movies didn't. Her story just picks up and she just kind of goes along with what happens without any real explanation. Two of the common arguments for this is how with no explanation whatsoever she was able to fly the Millennium Falcon just as well, if not better, than Han Solo himself. And the fact that she was able to defeat Kylo Ren in a lightsaber battle, even though it never established her having any training in sword fighting combat at all. Considering that Kylo Ren himself had been a student of Luke Skywalker, it didn't make sense. In fact, no offense to the actors, I think they all did a wonderful job portraying their characters, but I just think the writing itself was poor in establishing these. To support this theory, let's look at the example of the original Star Wars and Luke Skywalker. From the very beginning, it's established that he wants to get off the planet. It's established that he's already an accomplished pilot. There's dialogue and there's an explanation given to his abilities. And it clearly established that he really didn't have any idea what he was doing. It didn't take until the second movie, it wasn't until the second movie, Empire Strikes Back, where he was able to be proficient with a lightsaber or do some of the things that Rey was pulling off. And it was, established that quite a bit of time had passed. So at least that's my view on those movies specifically. I have no problem whatsoever with being pro-feminism, as long as that feminism is what it is intended to be, which is the true equality of men and women. Men and women are equal, but I do believe that popular opinion has men and women unequal, and there is this narrative that women are inherently superior or better than men, in the fact that women are more nurturing, which I think is generally true. Men are violent, they're controlling, they're manipulative, they're abusive, all kinds of things. And I've had issues debating this topic in the past, and nobody seems to recognize or admit that history is full of examples of women that have been murderers and abusers themselves. Women are just as capable of evil deeds and actions as men. And the argument that men are toxic and the concept of toxic masculinity isn't invalid. It just neither applies to every single man, and there is no acknowledgement of toxic femininity. There are many aspects of female behavior that are toxic as well, which was discussed in another video. I'd like to provide a link to that if I can. So men and women are equal. I have no issue with that. That's my true belief. But it's equal on pretty much every level, both good and bad. Yes, men do bad things. I've done bad things. I don't see myself as innocent in anything, but, I do my best to be a good person, and I try to work on my flaws and try to not make them so apparent. When it comes to the issue of racism, it's a difficult topic for me because, being perfectly honest, I was raised in a small town in North Carolina where the population was predominantly white, and I really can't remember any black kids that went to our school. So it's not like I had a lot of interaction with minorities, say, blacks or Hispanics or anything like that. But my father was very adamant about teaching me anti-racist attitudes. For example, I'm doing my best to become a writer, and I would not be doing so if it weren't for specifically reading Rainbow, oh my god, I can't believe I'm brain farting on his name. Holy cow. Let me pause this. Okay, I don't want to be at this all day, so I'm just going to continue. Reading Rainbow, when that show aired, I watched it religiously. And because I had an interest in reading Rainbow, my dad suggested that I watch Roots. And I was already a Star Trek fan, so I started watching Star Trek The Next Generation when it came out. So literally, that one man, has inspired me my entire life in being a writer and being a good person, of doing my best at, my job or what it is I do, through his portrayal of Geordie LaForge, and he's just one example. I didn't have examples of diversity in my personal life, but in my intellectual life, in the entertainment that I chose, it was equal. Some of my favorite shows growing up were, first, All in the Family, and yes, that is racist. I wouldn't say it's racist, but it does have a lot of racial humor in it. But there was Sanford and Son, Good Times, The Jeffersons. what was the name of the show? Dynamite, Good Times. I mean, there was just a lot of different shows and programs that I watched that included black people. And and like I said, watching Roots and being encouraged by my father to always have strong respect for history and philosophy, I am well aware of what black people have suffered, at the hands of, racist and sexist white people. I mean, my God. I mean, seriously, I can only imagine the cruelty. I can only imagine the suffering that took place then. And honestly, I can only imagine what's going on now. Mitch is very, very correct on that. I don't feel I can honestly comprehend, but man, seriously, I try. And I try to look at things from from that perspective. And I'm not going to be one of those to make the false claim that I have black friends in real life. I don't. I'd like to think I have black friends online. I do support a couple of black creators, but to me, the reason why I do it is not because they are black. It's because I enjoy their content and I like and appreciate what they say. And that goes to Mitch Mitchel, that goes to Black D Gaming, and a couple others. Like on Instagram, there's this one black goth model that I follow, and I think she's incredible. Racism is not a factor in how I choose my content or what content I enjoy. So, for me, that's not an issue, but it is very much an issue in society, I believe. As he pointed out, I said, yeah, I don't believe that blacks or Hispanics or other minorities are given appropriate funding and opportunities to make movies or publish their novels and create their stories. He brought up Black Panther, and I freaking love that movie. I mean, I'm not familiar with the character of Black Panther in the comics, I'll be honest, but that movie actually made me really care about the character and made me interested in his world. I can't afford to buy comics right now, or I would be buying Black Panther comics, because it was really good. I love the color, I love the way it was filmed, the way it was shot and directed. There was so much vibrance. And I love the scenery, the visual representation of African art. And I even loved how they had, a character that had the lip piercing and everything like that. Because body modification like that has been a part of African culture for as long as I know about, some of the theories as to why aliens exist come from the fact that Africans did body modifications, such as binding their heads from a young age and extending their cranium, and the fact that they wore neck metal around their necks and they extended their necks to make it longer. I mean, I think that inclusion in the film was awesome. I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw that kind of thing, I was just like, wow, that's crazy and insane. I mean, that's what I thought in my youth. But when I actually did the history and the homework, I realized the value of it, and I realized the cultural significance of it. I hope, this explains my view of why I mentioned third wave feminism and racism in my article about Sword Art Online. Just because I feel that characters such as Asuna and Sinan and the other one, I can't think of her name right now, and I don't want to spoil the show because I want people to watch it, but the woman that turns out to actually be the strongest of Alfheim Online, which was a virtual MMO that took place after the events of Sword Art Online, the game, in the story. Sorry, it's complicated. So, you know, characters like Asuna and Sinon are very much three-dimensional characters in the fact that, and I just said this in the article that I wrote, they have tragic backstories, they have very human qualities, and their abilities don't come from the fact that they are women. Their abilities come from the fact that they are mentally strong, that they have strong core values and beliefs, and it is the caliber of their character that makes them strong women and strong characters in general. And that focus on equality, you know, because, you know, the main character of the show is Kirito. And Kirito may be the main protagonist, but almost every other character in the group that surrounds him has just as much backstory and just as much agency within the story. I mean, the entire second season of Sword Art Online was about the character of Sinon, you know, and I think she's a wonderful character. And I would love to see more of that in films, both from black people, women. I don't care, honestly, what your race is. I don't care what your sex is. I just want good stories. That's it. I want good stories that follow a narrative that stays true to the message it has, that maintains its, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, continuity. Continuity is very important to me, and it drives me nuts in Star Trek Voyager. You know, as much as I love Star Trek, I can't watch Voyager. It drives me nuts because they take continuity and use it as toilet paper. But anyway, I hope this explains my issue with Mitch's, you know, opinion of what I wrote in that one paragraph. Now let me explain that one paragraph. I wrote many. I examined the story, I examined the technology they used in the story, provided explanations of how that technology exists in the real world, its implications, how it's been used in science fiction before, how that technology has been used in the real world, and I went into discussing the morality and the philosophy that's presented in the show, the concept of, you know, how people behave in a virtual world or virtual environment such as Twitter or online in general, that we should treat people equally and judge them by the content of their character and not by how they appear, because the whole point of Sword Art Online or going into a virtual world is being something different than yourself, being better than who you are. So in a virtual world such as Sword Art Online, it doesn't matter if you're white, black, male, female, because the only thing that matters is your intellect, the power of your mind. And you don't treat people based on their appearance. You can't, because it's a video game. You can have something that looks like a freaking ball of slime and it'll kill you just as quick as a 50-foot monster. So here's the issue I have mainly with Mitch's entire video. He's not wrong. Everything he says is correct. And I have a great respect for him and everything he said. But it's still an example of what I have a problem with in general. Forget the entire context of an entire article or an entire debate and focus on one problem. Let's focus on one issue. Let's focus on one mistake and not look and examine something as a whole or even relate or try to comprehend the intention of the subject as a whole. I'm not mad at Mitch. I'm not mad at debate. I'm not mad at anything. I'm mad at the concept of that singling out, that hatred of one single issue, but no, I really appreciate everything Mitch said, and I will definitely apply his advice and try to be less political, or at least do a better job of explaining my own political views before, or at least during, my examinations and the things I write. I'm sorry this has gone on way too long. I am not a very skilled speaker. I hope you made it through the video, and I hope you understand what I said. Have a great day, and thank you very much for watching. Shawn Saint signing out.